Again, we come to a very large group of rod buildings. Normally they come in excavated areas like the bottom three we see. That's got a squarish excavated area around it, so these as well. Normally there's that bright ring around the crater edge, which could be very tiny rods, internal ones there. A common feature which we also saw on the Tycho crater were the rod towers coming from the edge of the crater, so we see that happening as well. We see areas of dark and light green, which we assume are vegetation, and many walls. We're at a height of about 3.3 kilometers. Just try to zoom in, get a closer look. We'll see the rod structures there, but they're very luminous. It's as though they're actually emitting light. As we zoom across at about 7.3 kilometers, we see a lot more structures. For instance, we zoom into this one here as well. We see the common rod structures around the craters, the rings around the edge of the crater rod structure there. The whole area again is just covered in these structures. If we just zoom in to any area we pick, we won't escape finding any of these structures. This is at 2.5 kilometers. This becomes very dark green, this area. And down the bottom we see like very small ridges, and they're actually composed of individual towers, which I'm not sure if we can actually zoom into. Yes, so you see the 1, 2, 3, the actual ridges are composed of towers themselves. So these are all virtually cities composed of many towers. We'll just do a quick measurement. That one's a bit blurred. Go down, it's about 60 a meter, so that's 15 stories. So the whole area is completely covered here. We see one more group in this crater here, and we see the ridges that are dark green as well, which we assume are vegetation. That's an area down there. So again, by using this process of just zooming into areas, we always see structures anywhere that we go in this area. For instance, we pick this area here, straight away we see all the rod towers. We see like areas of excavation around it. We'll see the very dark green as we approach the bottom of the crater, so obviously we assume there's more moisture down the bottom, usually collecting by condensation. This area is a bit blurred at the moment. We'll just try to zoom back up again, see if we can find a better area. Here we have two structures we haven't labelled, which we've now found by accident. They're very good in the terms that you'll see very bright luminous towers on the edge, a zigzag type of excavation around it, and again around the rim very fine luminous lines happening. You see excavation happening here, dark green. One more structure there, so that was a very good little area we picked there as well. Now here we've come into an area which I think I might label as well later on. We'll see the very bright luminous towers, and again all we see is just this line happening around the other edge. It looks very luminous. I'm not sure if it's a very bright wall. Again, it's around that structure as well. Around here as well we have two internal towers happening. So that's a very nice little example we have here, and it seems luminous, that they're brightly lit, these towers. So compared to that tower, for instance, in that area, which looks just a normal colour, that looks like very brightly lit towers that emit energy, as well as these as well. We come to that one there with two internal ones. We just zoom in. Very bright, very luminous. As we go around this side, we find some more again, and that fine white line around the actual excavation. That's virtually seen with all these towers there as well, that fine white line. Here we have a lot more around the crater edge and pathways that lead down. It looks squarish and rectangular in structure. Again, I don't see any roads or any type of patterns we see on Earth. I'm still hoping these are not alien structures, but obviously each time I try to... Here we got one tower inside and that zigzag pattern around it. Each time I try to find anything that resembles human construction or human type patterns here on Earth, I don't find anything that resembles that. And again, the structures resemble the ancient ones on the Tychos crater, which are, there's a few luminous ones there, but they're mostly very old. Here we go again, that sort of same structure formation which we found here. That's not labeled, this one is labeled. And here we have a more common, actually easier to see, flat excavated area around the towers, shadow, that bright white line, and zigzag walls around it, which could be pathways or walkways. Or this is a very large one, very luminous. Inside you have the towers coming up through the excavation. This area becomes more hilly. We're at about 4.5 kilometers as we zoom in. Again, we'll see them strategically positioned in between the ridges. They're virtually everywhere. Not one spot hasn't got any type of a building. Here we have that type of rectangular excavation happening. Dark areas coming in which are very, very green. Here we have just 3 on their own sticking up, and a shadow out of that excavation there. That one again has like a pathway, a walkway around it. Then we've got that rod structure there happening. Again, I haven't worked out why, but on the edges of the craters, which we don't ever see the bottom of, there's always towers around the edges. It seems to be something the aliens like, which is to produce the towers on the edges. Here we have a very nice pattern coming up, which we haven't labelled. Many rod structures in there, and that zigzag wall around it. Here as well, very numerous. We'll just zoom in a lot higher to see what else we can zoom in and find accidentally. Again, here we go. We've just found this accidentally now. This is interesting because of the patterns here in between the ridges. Here we have 2 towers coming up and one at an angle, more down there. These are very bright and luminous, same as these ones here. Actually, it seems to be more luminous than other ones nearby, indicating it could be emitting some sort of energy as well. Here we go again, that bright white line around the edge of the excavation. The towers on one side, internal towers. This area here we haven't labelled previously. We've got the same pattern happening. That's about 1.7 kilometers height. We have a big group around this crater here. Also the actual rods inside. There's a nice pattern happening in this area. Actually, there's more of a squarish type of walkway heading down into the crater that you can see. Here we've got a group. Here's from this height, about 5.5, I can spot a nice type of squarish excavation here. So that's a darker green area in this one, a lighter green area in the one outside it, and we've got these bright white zigzag areas around the edge of the crater. It's happening here as well. It's at a height of about 4.6. It's happening down here and here. Again, the aliens seem to prefer these rod-like structures. I'm not sure what they're composed of, so basically we assume it's some sort of a mineral component which would allow a light to come in. Also, it seems to emit light, it's very bright. They could capture solar energy and use that as a power supply, which I assume they're very energy efficient. There's no evidence of any pollution or anything on the surface. And we have a nice zigzag structure around it again. Usually where the areas are more hillier, we seem to have more structures and more vegetation happening. So obviously where there's a lot more greenery, there's a lot more structures. So they could be a chlorophyll, a base type of alien, relying on solar energy and nutrients and carbon dioxide, or oxygen even. I'm not quite sure of the composition of the atmosphere on the moon. Got rod towers there, rod towers coming from within. And they seem to be positioned right there between the ridges. And again, we're coming to areas where there's very bright light that these towers emit. Here's a lot more of a zigzag wall type of structure. Again, we see the towers on the inside of the crater. We can't see the bottoms of the crater. They seem to be endless tunnels. You have the zigzag patterns again happening. Just as we zoom in again from this height, we can spot other towers. These are very bright luminous zigzag patterns around the edges.